Hey guys, welcome to ETeeskiTutorials. This video is going to be an in-depth look at the new ETeeskiTutorials 100 texture packs for level design, or more accurately titled 100 level textures pack. If you want to just watch a quick video that just quickly goes over everything that's good about the ETeeskiTutorials 100 level texture pack, click on the screen now. But if you would like to continue watching and watch this more in-depth look and example usage of the ETeeskiTutorials 100 level textures pack, then continue watching. Okay, so this is the test scene that you see in the WebPlayer Demo. If you have played the WebPlayer Demo, link in the description below. And yes, so first of all, let me point out the actual package that you get. And if I move this over, I thought I would, oh wait, stupid, there we go. Okay, so this is what you get, this folder right here that says Eteeski Level Texture Pack. And if I open it up, you can see there are 4 folders in it, and it might be a little bit confusing to see with Unity 4's new layout, but in it there are 4 folders. There's a little README file, which is really nothing that fancy in there. It's just kind of an extra, well, it's a README file. And then we have this texture here, which is the only texture inside of all of the texture pack that's 1024. And that's because inside of a reflection map, 1024 is more than enough. You won't even see that. I mean, I could probably scale this down, and you probably still, actually, let's test this out. If I scale this down to 512 and hit apply, yeah, the reflections look identical. I didn't even see a change. So that is the only texture that's 1024, but the rest are 2048 by 2048. So this reflection texture is used on all 6 sides of this reflection cube map, and it's meant to be just a generic reflection map that, just, for the few textures that have reflections, such as this floor and this. Let's see if I can see the reflections. Let me find a good angle. They're very subtle in this particular texture. Yeah, there you can see it a little bit. You can see there's just a little bit of reflection in that particular texture. And I know there's a few other textures that use the reflection map, but I think those are the only ones that are used in this particular scene. Okay, so that's the reflection cube map, and it is used multiple times throughout a couple of different textures. Next, we have 4 folders: Industrial, Interior, Nature, and Warzone. Let's take a look at Industrial. So inside of each of these folders, there is a folder called JPEGs and Materials, which pretty much is what it sounds like. Here's the JPEGs. And as you can see, some of them have normal maps and some of them don't. And the ones that don't have normal maps, I didn't put normal maps on because they look better without normal maps. Like, the normal map was getting in the way of the look of that texture. Like, for example, like this dirt right here. I tried applying a normal map to it, but it just took away from the detail of the photograph, and it just didn't look as realistic. So I only put normal maps on the actual textures that looked good with normal maps. For example, this brick wall, which is it's a very subtle normal map. I think you can see the normal map a little bit more in this. I'd say this texture right here is probably the most prominent normal map. Oh wait, actually no. This is the most prominent normal map, and definitely my favorite normal map, because as you can see, the lights going in let me full screen this. The lights going in the different directions actually do cause shadows, or not necessarily shadows, but dark areas on the side that's facing away from the light, and just gives a really, really realistic look. And as you can see, we can zoom in really, really far before there's any pixelation whatsoever. Let's see. So yes, those are the JPEGs, and then here are all of the materials. So there are 25 materials in each of these 4 folders, so 100 textures in total. And I don't know if there's really much more to say about that. This particular material is this material here. And as you can see, I have it scaled to 60 by 60. I mean, tiled 60 by 60 so that you can actually see it. And if I want to change it, it's in a, say, like I wanted to make this like a finer grid. Let's say, let's go 90. So let's tab through all of those, 90, 90. And now, as you can see, it is a little bit more fine, or a little bit smaller in detail, I guess. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything to say about the textures. They all come in default 3 by 3. And of course you can change that, and you probably will need to change that depending on your model size and all of that good stuff and your UV mapping. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything that I have to say about the context of the package. So why don't I go ahead and I'm going to disable that, and then I'm going to enable this, and here we have the exact same scene but untextured. So actually let me turn this on so that, oh, okay, that actually looks a little bit better, a little bit more lit, I guess. So yeah, why don't I go ahead and start tiling, for example, this room. Okay, so I'm going to click on this model, and I'm going to click on it again. Okay, so I believe this is going to be called WZ inner, no, WZ something, WZ walls. Let's start with the walls. So let's add, let's say, a brick wall to these walls here. So I am going to find the material that I want. So I'm going to select, it's probably going to be in industrial, is going to be one that I'll like. So I'm going to select that so I can see all my materials here, and then I can still see in the inspector all of the different materials that are on this model. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention, all of the different solid colors that you see are a different model. I mean, not model, material, and they're just default colored materials with no, I believe, just the diffuse shader on them. Actually, let's, yep, diffuse solid color. Okay. So I want to replace, which one was it? WZ wall side? I don't know. Let's try, actually, let's take one from the war zone. And let's do worn marble on top of WZ wall side. Okay, it's these particular walls here. Okay, so as you can see, the texture is way too big. So let's tile it. So let's scroll down. Oh, wait, no. I can just click on this right here, and I can change it from here. So let's go 30 by 30. I think I still want it smaller, so let's try 60 by 60. That's looking pretty good, I think. I might want to go even smaller and do 90 by 90. So 90 by 90. And now that looks pretty sweet. And of course, we can zoom in really, really far to it because it's such a high resolution texture. So back here, it still looks great. And right here, it looks even better because we can see just everything in the texture, and we can see all of the little pebbles and all of the detail of the photograph. Let's go ahead and add, let's try rusty metal. So let's click here, let's see, WZ wall upper, let's put on rusty metal. So go there. And as you can see, that's way too big, but it is a good example. You can see just how much detail is inside of these textures. That's just a small corner of the texture. So if I scroll down, oh, it's right here. So let's change it to 30 by 30. That looks pretty good. I mean, it doesn't really match what I'm trying to do in this room, but I'm just using it as an example. So there's really nothing that I'm trying to match. So I'm basically just randomly doing this until I think it looks good. That looks pretty sweet. And we can zoom in really, really far before it starts pixelating because these textures are at such a high resolution. Let's see if there's anything else that is worth showing. That's pretty much the basic pattern. That's my favorite strategy to use Let's actually use a bumped map, or yeah, a bump map 1. So let's see, which texture is bump map. Let's use, what did I call this? What's the red called? So let's scroll down until I see bright red. Gallery walls. Okay. So let's go up here. Gallery floor. Here we go. Gallery walls side. No, that's not. Here it goes. Gallery walls. Let's put scratched metal on top of gallery walls. And as you can see, it is a bumped specular map, and I'm going to tile it just a little bit more. So let's scroll down to here until we see it. Now, normally you're probably not going to want to put this gigantic number of materials on one model. That's just going to get confusing and hard to use, and over time become inefficient, especially if you have tons and tons of models like this. But just for the sake of this particular scene, I did add this many materials because the whole point of this scene is to show off all of the different textures. So that is what I wanted to do. So this texture looks pretty awesome, normal mapped. It has cool bumps. Actually, let's put a light in here. So I'm going to create I guess let's do a directional light. There we go. It looks even better now. I like it much better like that. All right, cool. Actually, let's add, now I'm going to delete this. Can I just press delete? Yes. I'm going to add a spotlight. I think that'll look even better. So add spotlight. Let's rotate it. Is it coming through the wall? Is that? Oh, it's just not pointing at the wall. There we go. All right, and let's increase the angle and the range. And there we go. I think that shows off pretty well. So as you can see, it definitely has bump maps. Actually, I just thought of a material that would work much better. Let's go to materials, and let's see, what did I call it? Square, ridged. Let's see, ridged metal. Was that it? Oh, wait. Will that work? No, that won't work. I didn't think it would. All right, so I'm going to add the ridged metal on top of scratched metal. Yes. Okay. So my favorite bump mapped one, because this one's just so 3D and geometric, and I think just adds a lot of depth to your level. So yeah, as you can see, the bump maps are clearly visible, but if we select, let's see, ridged metal, yep. If we select this and change it just to diffuse, still looks good. So yeah, so the point that I wanted to make with that is that if you're building for mobile platforms such as iPhone or a slower Android phone, you're probably going to want to switch your materials to diffuse. And that is because, like, take for example this scene here, how I think I have 39 different materials on this one model. So that means like 39 different draw calls if I have no lighting. And if I do have lighting, which as you can see in the scene, I actually have like, I don't know, like 20 lights or something. So what that is going to do is that's going to be 20 times 39. And I don't know what that is off the top of my head, but I know it's a large number. And what that's going to result in is just tons and tons of draw calls, and then your game is going to run really slow. But because all of these textures all are, well, originally I was going to make all of them just diffuse, but then I last minute decided to add normal maps to them, or just to a few of them, not all of them, because just the ones that it looked good on. And when they're all diffused like that, and they all look good as diffused, you can use Unity's Beast light mapping, which is really, really easy to do. All you gotta do is set up which items are static and all of that. It's pretty easy to use Beast light mapping. And when you do that, it dramatically reduces the number of draw calls in your scene and just totally makes your game run super fast. And then you can have tons and tons of spotlights and point lights and directional lights, and you can come up with all of these different lighting schemes as long as your lighting schemes don't involve bump maps. And if that is the case, then everything will be in diffuse, and then there will only be one draw call per material. So for this particular scene, if I do beast light mapping and I have a material for all of the 39 different materials, that's only 39 draw calls. That's actually pretty low. That's definitely low enough to be on an iPhone or even an old iPhone. And your game is still going to look good because, well, the textures just look good. And then I can also, why don't I let's click on the ridged metal. Oh, I got to click on inspector, and then let's select the actual JPEG, and let's scale it down to a size that you would use on an iPhone. So let's say 256. I didn't even notice a change, did you? If you get in closer, you definitely can see the pixelation, but even getting this close, the texture still looks good, and nobody's going to expect an iPhone game to have that high of a resolution texture. So just wanted to point out that Unity makes it really easy. You can have high resolution or low resolution. So I'm just showing off that these textures will work great for an iPhone game and also for, say, a high-end PC or next-gen console that you actually have a lot of room to do fancy graphics such as bump mapping. So let's see, let's click back on this, and let's click back on the ridged metal, and let's click back on that, and then let's click, what was it, bumped specular? Yep. And now we got bump maps right back in because Unity remembers the normal map that you previously had assigned when you're trying out different shaders. So that is very convenient. So now that I've pretty much showed you oh wait, no, there's one more thing I want to show you. Let's click back here. Let's turn this off. Oh no, there's two more things I want to show you. So let's click back here, and then let's turn that on. And now we have our fully textured scene back. Let's go ahead and give the game a save. Let's start with the leaves. So there are 3 different types of leaves that are available in this texture pack, and they're really easy to add to your scene. All you got to do is apply the material, and the material is already set to have the leaves cut out. It is the transparent cutout diffuse shader, and then you just put it on a plane, and then you just have it float just ever so slightly off the ground. And that is probably the quickest, easiest, headache-free way to add the leaves to the ground. And being that it is just a tiny bit off the ground, I think does add a little bit of realism, because the leaves aren't going to be like painted onto the ground. They actually are physical objects. So I think that does add a little bit of 3D-ness, just ever so slightly. And of course, you can choose how far off the ground you want them for your particular game. And then you could do multiple layers if you want. So there's a lot of cool things that you can do with these leaves, and you can just kind of mix it up. And as you can see, I have them spilling out of the nature zone into the art gallery zone. Okay, so the next thing that I want to show you is how you would go about changing the color of any of these textures if you just want a different color. So I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to, there it is, that was convenient. So I'm going to click on this rock, and as you can see, this is a very blue rock. Now, let's say in my particular game, I apply this texture, and I was like, you know what? That blue just doesn't look right. Let's change it. So I'm going to click here. Let's see, I guess if I click open, I gotta click show in Explorer. So let's click on, this is the normal map, and this one is the regular JPEG. So let's go ahead and click open with, and I'm going to go into Adobe Photoshop. Now you don't have to use Photoshop. You can do the same technique in pretty much any free image editing software. And then I'm just going to click Control U, and then I'm going to change the hue, and let's try to find something like that. And then I'm going to bring the saturation down to like that. That looks pretty cool, a lot different than before. And I'm going to click save, and then it's still set as a JPEG. Save again. Would you like to replace it? Okay. Maximum quality. And then I'm going to go into Unity, wait a second, and loading, bam. The texture color has been changed. So that only took a few seconds. So I just wanted to point out how easy that is to do, and how there really isn't any way to go wrong by doing that. It's just really simple, really basic standard. I actually really like that color. That's pretty cool. All right. So now let's go ahead and open up a program called Wings 3D. Give that a second to load. Or maybe it has already loaded. There it is. Okay, so let's resize these windows just a little bit. And let's make this a little bit smaller. So I've used this in this program in tutorials before, but just in case you're not familiar with Wings 3D, Wings 3D is a free modeling program. And the reason why I like to use it in tutorials is because of how simple it is and how clean the look of it is. And as you can see if I'm in vertex mode, line mode, face mode, object mode. You can see all of the meshes that I have listed right here. You can see all the materials that I have listed right here. And every time you right click on stuff, you can see all of the controls. So I think it's just great for teaching general 3D modeling, but of course all of these techniques will work in another program like Blender or 3ds Max, but this program's just easier to see what's going on if you aren't familiar with the program. So let's go ahead and create a cube, and I'm going to resize, or actually I'm going to move it along the y-axis, and I'm just going to create like a really simple house. So let's move this back up to like the center, and now let's scale it. So scale uniform. So I'm going to scale the whole thing up. Let's scale it somewhat big. Oops, Control Z. I forget that these are different controls than Unity. I have to remember that. So let's go to face mode again. Click on the face, right click, inset, and this is going to be the size of our house. So now that I have that, I'm going to extrude it, normal, and extrude it to say about there. And now I'm going to click on this line and this line, make sure I have the right line selected. Yes, I do. Right click, cut to, and press C to connect them. And now if I drag this line up along the y-axis, then it will kind of make a general house shape. And now I'm going to click on the roof and the other side of the roof, and then I'm going to right click, extrude along the y-axis, and I'm going to extrude it up. And now I want that face, that face, that face, and that face, and I'm going to extrude normal. Now we have a little bit of an overhang, and let's see. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. All right, so now we have our mesh is cube 1. So let's go ahead and rename this house. All right, now the next step is to UV map it. So I'm going to go to object mode. I'm going to select the whole thing, and then I'm going to go down to UV mapping and zoom out a bit. And let's start sectioning off all of these different parts. So I want that to be one big thing. I want this to be one big thing. So make that blue maybe. And basically what I'm doing is I'm just looking for places, or I'm just looking for seams and lines where you would end up seeing the seams if I were to just break everything apart and not do any re-UV mapping. Like if I were to just do lazy UV mapping and cut every single line, then everything will be broken apart and you would see all of the seams. All right, and let's see if that is, I think that's everything. So I'm going to go ahead and select this, and then I'm going to go to select similar materials, and then I'm going to go to line mode, and then I'm going to click on mark edges for cut. And now, using this technique, now we will know that the textures will nicely tile across these lines, and then all of the places where we that are just solid shapes, we have these bright orange lines where it's going to cut. And yeah, so let's click on continue. Let's do unfolding, and I think that looks pretty much good. I don't think there's really anything else that we need to add to that. So let's click on create texture. It doesn't matter what size we're going to be using because we're going to throw this away. So actually, I don't even know if it was necessary to select create texture, but hey, whatever. So now let's go ahead and create some materials. So I'm going to go to material, and I'm going to call this ground, and let's make it like a bright green, actually like a dark green, I don't know, just so that we know, just so that it's easier to visualize. So I'm going to select the ground, and then I'm going to select this, and then I'm going to go to assign to selection, and it kind of screwed up the rest of the faces, but don't worry, we're going to fix those in just a minute. Now let's create another material, and let's call this one walls, and let's make this red. And okay, so now I'm going to select all of the walls of the house. Got them all selected? Cool. Alright, walls, assign to selection. Alright, looking good. Now let's do the roof. So I'm going to continue this process. Roof, and let's make it, I don't know, turquoise. And that's good. And select, 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 select. Looks good. Roof, assign to selection. Alright. And now let's do the edges. Whoops. So select, oh wait, no, I got to create my material first. So I'm going to call this edges, edges, whatever. Alright. And let's make it pink. Alright, okay. And so select, 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 select. Select, select, select. Select, select. Okay. I think that's all of them. So let's select that, assign to selection, and looking good. Now let's do the underside of the roof. So let's create a new material, and let's call it underside. Doesn't really matter what you name them. Let's make it yellow. And let's select this, and I think I can actually go to select similar, and it's no, it selected the top ones too, which I'll just unselect. And now I only have selected the underside of those two. So let's go to edges and click assign to selection. Oh, whoops. Let's Control Z that. Do I still have them selected? Okay. I meant to click on underside, assign to selection. There we go. That's what I wanted. So now you can see the underside of those are yellow. And now I'm just going to, what I normally do in all my level design is I make a texture called mist. And let's go ahead and make it, really doesn't matter. Let's do dark blue. Okay. Oops. Okay. I didn't actually make it dark blue, but okay, whatever. Doesn't matter. So I'm going to select this, and let's see if I go to select similar materials. Now I have all of the spots that don't really matter and aren't really going to be in the level, but I still usually like to texture that part. It's just one extra draw call. And Unity, if you have missed textures or missing materials, it displays it in bright pink. So it's just kind of a nice way of avoiding that. I think by default it would just make it just like a white color, but I like to assign a texture to the mist spots, because then if the player does happen to see it, it's going to be way less noticeable, and it'll just be another texture. So let's click on Assign to Selection, and there we go. So this is all done and ready to go. So I'm going to go to File, Export, and let's do 3ds. Usually, let's see, what file is this? My stuff, 3D. Yeah, this is good. So let's call this house. Now, what was I saying? I can't remember what I was saying. But now let's go ahead and click on this, and let's import a new asset. And there we go, house. So let's import that, and let's drag that into here. Actually, now let's scroll back a bit, bring it up, and now let's scale it up. And this is only for demonstration purposes, so this should be good. So I'm going to start with the grass, and I'm going to go find a good grassy texture. So let's try mossy ground. It definitely needs to be changed in the scale. So let's do 15 times 15. That looks pretty good. So now we got a nice high quality 1020, or not 1024. What? No, it's a 2048 by 2048 texture on the ground, and as you can see, you cannot see the seams. Remember the seams that were going like that? You can't see them. So that is great. So now let's do the walls, and there's a one in this one. This is the one that I want. So let's click here, and let's click on walls, and I'm going to scale that down to let's do 15 by 15. That looks good. So now we have like an old rusty barn, or not rusty, but you know, whatever you want to call it. And now for the roof, I'm gonna do, let's see, I believe. So let's click on that, and what did I call it? Something shingles. Here we go, damaged shingles. So let's put that on the roof, and let's go down to the damaged shingles, and let's try 10. Yeah, 10 looks good. All right, that is already starting to look pretty good, and actually more realistic than I thought it was going to turn out. Actually, I want a different ground. I want something more, dirty grass. I like this one. So instead of mossy ground, we're going to do dirty grass, and as you can see, it's dirty grass because there's a bunch of litter and burnt, charred stuff, and I just think it looks like grass that you would more likely see in a war zone, and it's just dirty and cool. So let's scale that to 15 by 15. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Actually, I think it should be scaled a little bit more. Let's do 30 by 30. All right. Now that the grass actually looks more realistic in size, and there's litter in the grass, so if you like go prone, the player is going to see litter and high resolution grass and that cool stuff. So now let's do the edges right here. So what do I want to use for that? Let's try burnt bars. So let's do edges. Actually, that looks good right there, just like that. And now let's do the underside, and then we will finish up with mist. So let's do underside with that, and I probably need to, yep, let's just do 15 by 15. Let's zoom in, see if it looks good. Let's do a little bit more. Let's do 30 by 30. That looks good. Yeah, that looks really good. All right, and now let's go to the underside, and let's go ahead and make it, what would be a good one? Charred dirt, maybe? Put it under mist. Yeah, that looks good. So now if the player does see that, they're not going to think anything of it because it looks good. And yeah, so as you can see, it's not necessarily a professional model, but you can definitely say that they're professional textures. And you can see how, like, you saw how in Wings, I'll pull it up one more time. Like, look at that. Look at that childish Lego little, like, that's a bad model. Let's be honest. I made that in like 2 seconds. And then with the textures on it, it looks pretty good. It looks very realistic, actually. I mean, this right here is almost good enough to use in a game. Like, I would feel good using this in a game. And actually, all of the textures that I happen to choose are all diffused textures. So we can put this in an iPhone game and it would still look great. So yeah, I guess this pretty much concludes the ETeeskiTutorials 100 level textures pack, which is now available on the Unity Asset Store. And this has been the detailed overview. So yeah, if you want to play the web player, the thing that I've been flying through this whole time, go ahead and click on the link in the description or go to ETeeskiTutorials.com. And also stay tuned for more tutorials coming up where I don't know all of the tutorials that I'm going to do, but I'm going to do a playlist of textured themed tutorials. And some of the tutorials that I'm definitely going to do are going to be tutorials going over the exact technique that I use to create all of these textures. So that's going to include the photography, the real life world photography. It's going to include the, oh wait, that's upside down, but that's because of the UV mapping. I should have fixed that in the UV mapping. Where was I going with that? I'm going to show you how to Photoshop them and just the whole process of getting them inside of Unity and getting them tiled and getting them looking awesome. So definitely stay tuned for that. And yes, oh, and if you do happen to buy my texture pack, definitely please rate it and review it on the Unity Asset Store, because ratings and reviews will help out the texture pack a ton, and I would be super grateful if you guys could do that. And yeah, I guess until my next episode, I'll see you guys later, and keep making games.